Hey everyone, welcome to the show. So, states that overwhelmingly voted for Donald Trump are entering the find out phase. Yeah, it's going to hit them the hardest. So, his new 25% tariffs and his funding freeze, they are wreaking havoc already throughout the country. But red states are definitely going to bear the brunt of the majority of the brunt of his bad policies. And before I dive into the details, I just want to point out we need to be very clear about why he's doing what he's doing. Because Trump may claim, oh, I'm trying to find waste, fraud, and abuse, right? That's his new line, his new catchphrase that MAGA just keeps repeating over and over again. That is complete and total BS. He is doing this to fund his massive tax scam and his giveaway for his wealthy buddies because he knows his Republican accomplices in the House and the Senate are not going to extend that 2017 tax cut unless he somehow shows that he can pay for at least some of it. Because, of course, all they've ever talked about is, oh, the exploding deficit. We got to bring down the deficit. I mean, how are you going to pay for that? And remember, more than 80% of those tax cuts that he gave out in 2017 went to the top 1% of income earners in the US. So it doesn't benefit. It's not like, oh, I'm trying to save all this money so I can give average Americans, hardworking Americans, and, the working poor a leg up and give them a tax break. No, this is to pay back his wealthy donors. So here's who he's screwing over for his billionaire broligarchs. Funds allocated to the state of Missouri have been cut off. Specifically, Missouri is at risk of losing hundreds of millions of dollars in funding from the National Institutes of Health. So here's the deal on this. According to news outlets, this grant money from the NIH provided universities and other organizations with the funds that they needed for pandemic and infectious disease research, also agriculture and veterinary research. And a judge ordered Trump's administration to lift his funding freeze, but so far he hasn't completely complied. So there are new lawsuits or new motions before the judge, and the judge slapped them hard in court and said, yeah, you're violating my order. This is pretty clear. But what are they going to do about it? As I've said, there is no recourse. And his supporters, at least the ones that I've seen online, they hope that he continues to defy the courts. So, okay, go ahead. I mean, I don't think farmers agree because a lot of farmers took advantage of programs that were included in Joe Biden's Inflation Reduction Act, also in his Rural Energy for America program. So these programs provided funding for upgrades on farms, improvements to their farms. And the deal was, though, the farmers had to front the cost. And then the government guaranteed them a reimbursement in the form of a grant or a loan. Well, it wouldn't necessarily cover all of their costs, right? But, they were promised a refund for at least some of their money, maybe even half. Well, that's not happening. And farmers are now out millions of dollars in upfront costs. And they have no commitment from Trump and his administration about when or even if these funds might be made available to them in the future. So you guys may have heard there's a Missouri cattle farmer named Skylar Holden. He's been getting a lot of attention because he posted on TikTok about his predicament. And then they've kind of gone viral. Different news shows have picked it up. He was quoted in a news publication. So Holden admits he voted for Trump. He also says he spent $80,000 on materials and labor, and he was expecting at least a partial reimbursement from the government. Well, his funds are part of this Trump freeze. And under the terms of the agreement that Holden signed, this contract with the government, If he doesn't complete all of his upgrades within 5 years, he has to pay back the money that he's already received plus interest. So in some cases, some of these people did receive some money up front. And this Holden guy said, if Trump doesn't end this freeze, he's going to have to take out another loan, or he's going to have to sell his farming equipment and his cattle. And then Holden reached out to the government to try to get some clarity on all of this. And he told the Washington Post, quote, I asked her, is there any word on when they're going to be unfrozen? Is it going to be frozen indefinitely? She didn't have any answers for me. Yeah, so efficient, right? Just, I mean, the level of stupidity, of incompetence, just total nightmare. Exactly what we knew Donald Trump's administration would be. So in a more recent video, Holden says he doesn't trust either party. He said he thinks that what Trump is doing is wrong, but he still doesn't seem to really regret his vote. Now, I've reached out to him. I've asked him to come on the show for an interview, so we'll see. So far, he hasn't responded, but I'm going to reach out again. Anyway, the Iowa Soybean Association, that represents soybean farmers, they're reporting that hundreds of their farmers in the Midwest are waiting on $11 million that they were promised under a 2022 grant called the Midwest Climate Smart Commodity. And by the way, check out this map. So for those on the podcast, this map shows where Donald Trump had the most support from farmers. They overwhelmingly voted for Trump. In fact, if you look real closely, I don't know if you guys can make it out, but it says out of 444 farming dependent counties, only 11 of them went for Kamala Harris. All the rest of them went for Donald Trump. And some of these counties voted 96% or more. 96% or more of their population voted for Trump. Tried to warn them, right? But it's not just farmers in these red areas that are getting hit by Captain Chaos, because the New York Times reported that Biden's Inflation Reduction Act, it would have provided hundreds of billions of dollars for clean air projects over the next 10 years. And they said, quote, so far, Republican voting communities have benefited the most from that law. In the nearly 3 years since it was passed, private companies chasing the law's tax breaks have announced plans to spend $165.8 billion to build factories that make solar panels, wind turbines, electric vehicles, and more, according to new data from Atlas Public Policy, a research firm. Roughly 80% of those investments are in Republican congressional districts where they are creating a once-in-a-generation manufacturing boom. Yeah, Biden created a once-in-a-generation manufacturing boom that mostly, over 80%, benefited red states, red counties, and communities. So here's the map that they shared, and it shows where this money was going. And as you can see, it primarily benefited states that voted overwhelmingly for Donald Trump. So that money meant manufacturing and other jobs for Americans. That is now potentially being wiped out. And Donald Trump has made no bones about it. I mean, he keeps calling it the Green New Scam. Oh, we're getting rid of Biden's Green New Scam. No, that Green New Scam, that was not what it was called, actually helped his constituents, his voters. And then at the very least, it's on hold for now. So a lot of experts are saying some of these projects are just going to be scrapped, probably at least 50%, because being on hold is like a death knell for some of these people who, they needed the money to get going. And so even if it's just temporarily frozen. It's going to end their ability to do what they were going to do and build these manufacturing plants. And remember, every one of these projects that's now on hold or canceled means job losses. So, whether it's directly affecting the people who were going to build these plants and the people who were going to work in these plants, or just the number of jobs it created down the road or downhill, downstream from these things, or just even consumers, but and other companies buying the products that they were producing. I mean, just the butterfly effect of this is unbelievably horrific. And so, you take a look at, for instance, in Ohio, they were expecting $230 million to build an auto parts manufacturing facility. That would have created, they said, 650 new jobs. So 650 new jobs. These are now, potential workers who are now going to have more money to spend in the economy, right? They're going to help now local restaurants, local companies selling anything, clothing, I mean, across the board. I mean, it just, again, the butterfly effect, the downstream effects of losing these jobs is just monumental. And they don't get it. Anyway, but I'm sure we're going to see that trickle down economy any day now with all these wealthy people giving more to their employees. That's always worked so well for centuries. Anyway, so that is now potentially on the chopping block, that whole thing in Ohio. And I may have found a silver lining, though. All of this, or some of it, I should say, at least with the farmers, it might be good. At least from the perspective of an animal-loving person like myself, because there's a Wisconsin dairy farmer. He spoke with a news outlet, and he was complaining about Trump's deportation of migrants. And he said, quote, "If there's no immigrant labor, there's no milk, no cheese, no butter, no ice cream. We'll all have to go vegan." I mean, we'd all have, there'd be a hell of a lot less disease. Our medical costs would plummet. We'd actually see a reduction in greenhouse gases. Don't threaten me with a good time, guy. I mean, again, might be a silver lining to all of this. Anyway, there's at least one Republican state that is now begging Trump to actually, there are more, but here's one for sure that is begging Trump to, maybe rethink this policy. So this happened in Tennessee. Trump had announced, you may have heard, that he's ordered the Treasury to stop production of pennies, so stop minting pennies. Well, the blank discs that are used to make those pennies, they are manufactured in the deep red county called Greene County in Tennessee. So one Greene, Colorado resident who's a business leader there, he posted online and said, quote, "Save the penny. For those that do not know, every penny starts in Greene County. Save jobs in Greene County." And then he also posted, quote, "It's disappointing to see President Trump make a statement of directive like that because these are American jobs." Yeah. And then Katie Britt, remember her, the senator from Alabama, the one who put out that video, her response to Biden's State of the Union address, where it looked like a middle school drama class submission. She was like, "So dramatic. And oh, can you believe what he's doing? Oh," and then her, random smiles that didn't match what she was saying. Like she'd be talking about death and destruction, and she's like, "And we just think that this is horrible." Anyway, yeah, her. The one thing that brought the left and right together are shock and horror at Katie Britt's State of the Union speech, her response, I should say. So, anyway, she is now saying, oh, maybe Donald Trump needs to rethink things because now her state is being hit by his freeze of funding. And then there's other Republicans who have said, oh, I really wish Donald Trump could make a little carve out here or think about my state here or there. I mean, no, again, we tried to warn you guys. You come in with this slash and burn approach to government, yeah, some things are going to get slashed and burned that you didn't want slashed and burned. So again, this is what happens when you nominate and elect someone who is completely ignorant and incompetent. Enjoy. Anyway, I will let you all know when I hear more. So thank you all so much for watching and listening. Please like, please share so people understand that, yeah, this is hitting the red states more than the blue states, and they voted against their best interest. Oh, well. Please subscribe to the channel if you have not. Like the video. That really helps with the YouTube algorithm. Sharing it also, again, really helps with the YouTube algorithm. If you can donate, truly appreciate it. Love you all. Take care. Talk with you soon.